Very happy to be back here virtually visiting Georgia. I hope to be back soon once everything gets back to some semblance of normal with traveling and such. And so thanks for the introduction. My name is Christian Allen. I'm an evangelist at Epic Games. And like the intro said, my primary focus is working with independent and smaller game developers. For myself, I focus on the United States and Canada, although we have a network of evangelists around the world who do a lot of contact for various different indie developers, as well as the enterprise space. So architect, product development, medical, simulation, government, all the various different things that the Unreal Engine is utilized for. My background's in game development. I'm a game designer and a blueprint scripter by trade. Worked at Ubisoft, and I want to give a big shout out to all my friends at Ubisoft Montreal. I hope everything is going good. I'm glad it turned out that stuff today is just yet another thing in 2020. I also spent time at Bungie working on the Halo franchise, Warner Brothers, where I worked on Lord of the Rings, and I ran my own studio for 5 years. That's when I switched to Unreal. And one of the things that I wish had been bigger and around more were places like the Unreal Marketplace. Obviously, there are marketplaces to be able to sell assets, but I'm especially excited about the Unreal Marketplace. I talk about it a lot. Normally when I talk about the marketplace, I talk about it from the point of view of the developer and acquiring assets. And I really want to give a great shout out to Siege in the Georgia Game Developers Association for giving a talk on if you want to sell publisher assets on the marketplace. So that's what I'm primarily going to focus on today. And I've got a short deck that I'm going to run through and just touch on some of the requirements, some of the tips and tricks, basically the kind of flow of how it works. If you want to follow up with me, obviously I'm going to be available for Q&A in the Discord server after this. But I highly would love for you to reach out to me. You can follow me on Twitter. That's kind of my public handle. At Serellan, but LinkedIn is where I do kind of a lot of my business contacts. You can reach out to me there. Just search for Christian Allen at Epic, Christian Allen Game Designer, or this LinkedIn Christian-Allen-Designer. Those are my two primary social media platforms that I use. I don't have an Instagram feed because nobody wants to look at pictures of me all day, and you don't need to see pictures of my kids, so you can ignore Facebook. Just a little bit of an intro as far as Epic Games. Epic Games has an entire ecosystem, including obviously the games that we develop. Fortnite, Gears of War, Spy Jinx, Infinity Blade, new games or new games to the Epic family, like Rocket League. And Unreal Engine is primarily what I focus on. That's obviously the engine that powers a lot of independent and AAA games around the world, and as well as, again, non-game applications. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the opportunities in the non-game space, but I want to jump right into it. The first thing to consider when it comes to the Unreal Marketplace is that it is completely integrated into our engine launcher for over the over 11 million licensees that utilize Unreal Engine every day, or in their everyday development. So when assets go up on the Unreal Marketplace, they are available in the launcher. Essentially, developers and actually anybody who has the Epic Games launcher, which of course is included with the Epic Games Store, or Fortnite. If someone goes and gets Fortnite, they're going to be getting the launcher. They'll be able to access this content, access Unreal Engine. Anybody who gets the store will be able to access this content. So there is a very broad and growing marketplace for these assets and these content packs. And they're utilized in a variety of ways, whether from folks that are actually just purchasing content to bulk out their games, but oftentimes they're also used by folks that are learning content, that might want to build their own systems, that may purchase a content pack to look at how it's built. Our Blueprint scripting system, which is our visual scripting system, is very strong in this, especially for non-coders. to be able to access content like this. So this is what our vault looks like. This is actually just a screenshot from my vault, and it goes down, as you can see on the bar on the right, quite a bit farther because I have a lot of different content packs. But this is essentially what the once you purchase content, what it looks like. So the marketplace itself, we launched it in 2014. And it's been steadily growing ever since then. We have currently over 3,000 sellers. I'm not quite sure how fresh this data is that I pulled from whatever other presentation, so I just went kind of generic. Over 3,000 sellers. We have over 10,000 products available on the marketplace. We do have an industry-leading split that we actually rolled out on the marketplace. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. And we have direct delivery to the customer's projects. And that's one of the nice things about the Unreal Engine store that for developers is that essentially based on the content pack or based on the type of content is in the pack, whether it is a standalone content pack or a full project, the workflow is essentially purchase the pack, add it to your project, open up the engine, and the content is available to you. And you can immediately start dropping it into your project. Alternatively, if it's a standalone project with custom code, users can open up a separate project, migrate the specific assets, or just build off of the content that you put up. So that workflow of being from point to purchase to use is very quick, very short. It's not just raw assets that are dumped into a folder that then the user has to export and bring into their engine. It's a direct flow. And that's something that we're continually working to improve. We're continually working on adding features to the marketplace, like things like wish listing, which we just added, obviously carts and things like that. And we have a lot of promotional programs that I'm going to be talking about later to support that content as well. Other things that we've added just recently, the able to sort and categorize content as we've been doing our monthly free content packs. The users let us know that, hey, I have 150 content packs now and I'm having trouble sorting through them. So we added things like that, and we're continually to work on that. So when I talk about the marketplace in general, there are, all sorts of different types of assets, and I'm not going to go through every single one, but essentially 2D assets, animations, architectural, visualization, blueprints, characters, code plugins, environments, basically everything that you can think of in a game development space or an enterprise development space that you might need are available to submit on the marketplace. There's different technical requirements for each one, and I'll talk about how you can find those. Those requirements, both technical requirements and also content requirements as far as amount and quantity and things like that. But the easiest way to get an idea for the content that is available is to just jump on either through our website by Googling Unreal Marketplace, or pop open the launcher and click over to the marketplace and you can start scrolling through. But essentially, as far as types of assets that are available, I left off the general section, which is things that may not fit with any of these or may fit in multiple ones. But lots of different types of assets available to folks and for you to sell. This is just a snapshot of items that I grabbed off of the marketplace for this presentation. One example is the upper left, the Encompass content pack, which is a blueprint pack. So that, again, is a content pack that is built in our visual scripting language for players to have an integrated compass into their game or application. So they're able to go in and set the direction in the environments and have that replicated. Environments are extremely popular. In the lower left, we have Redwood Forest Biome. That's a beautiful environment. I'm actually using that environment in a demo project that I'm working on right now for Epic. And environments are extremely popular and obviously something that folks that want to look on. Props, both all sorts of different type of weapons props, character props, vehicle packs. All sorts of different props are extremely popular. I would probably say environment and props are our two most popular items. Now, of course, along with that, they're also our most competitive content types of pack. And the last example here is Niagara VFX Pack. This is a Portal VFX Pack, again, one that I'm currently using on an existing project. So like I said, lots of different types of marketplace content. So the first thing to consider, and I realize I'm running a little fast on this, so I'm going to try to slow it down a little bit and expand on each thing. The first thing to consider is the legal requirements for what you need to know when you're going to publish content on the marketplace. So the first thing that you need to know is that you are licensing this content out through the end user license agreement. So when you put content up on the marketplace, you're agreeing to sell the rights to those assets. And of course, to do that, you need to have the legal rights to distribute all the content in or dependent on the product. That means that you can't have any content that you do not have the rights to resell or to license out. Now, what that means is for the user, this purchasing content off the marketplace, the one thing that they cannot do with that content is resell it on another marketplace or on our own marketplace. So you can't go out and just say purchase a texture pack from an online marketplace and put it up and sell it on the Unreal marketplace. You must have all rights to legally distribute that. So if you are a person that has other people contributed to your content pack, you need to make sure that you have all the legal requirements set up in place and contracts and things like that to be able to distribute that content. You also need to make sure that it does not contain any copyrighted or trademarked information or content. Where that becomes very important is when it comes to things like logos, trademarked visual designs, and things like that. Where you need to take that into consideration is things like assets. If you're creating, say, a weapons pack is obviously something that's very, very common in video games and very common in the marketplace. You need to make sure and go through that if you're creating a weapon that you want to license out and sell, which you should be also doing this if you're using it in a game, you need to go out and make sure that any of the visual identifiers of those objects are not trademarked visuals. Same would go for things like props, like possibly shoes or cars. You need to make sure that those are trademark free and don't contain anything that's going to violate trademark or copyright laws. When it comes to sample content, you can use source code and source assets from Epic Games. We actually we distribute content for free on the Unreal Marketplace. And that can be learning content that we create for developers to use. For example, Action RPG is one, which is a template RPG game built for mobile. So you can go and you can download this to the marketplace. Also, we have assets like the Paragon assets. Paragon was a MOBA game that we had and decided to shut down the game, but we were able to release a lot of the high-resolution AAA level characters for free to the community. All of that content is licensed only for use in the Unreal Engine. That's one of the other restrictions, that we only put on Epic content. All of the rest of the content that's sold on the marketplace can be used in any engine or even outside of the game engines. But if you're going to use any of that content in your marketplace pack as supporting or display content, it needs to be only used for display or example. For example, if you make a character creator blueprint pack, you may want to use some of the Paragon characters to display how the character creator system would be used. However, if you make a character pack that the primary the primary value that the consumer is getting is the characters themselves, that content shouldn't be made up of Epic content of those Paragon characters. So that's an example of the difference between display content. Same thing with code plugins and blueprints. If it's just replicating something that's already available in the engine and is being used in other things, that sample content needs to not be the primary content in your package. Public domain content is allowed, but unmodified, but it needs to be limited to assisting with the presentation, and you have to have sources cited in the description. For example, if you had a narrative script writing tool that allowed you to write scripts in blueprints that you wanted to release, and you wanted to use an existing public domain content to fill out that as an example, you could do that, but it would need to, again, be limited to assisting with the presentation of the content, not the actual content itself. So you can't just take public domain content and resell it or sell it. And then the other caveat, just like we always tend to have, is that it doesn't contain assets that be considered offensive. Obviously, that's subjective. There are quite a few subjective terms that I'm going to be talking about here when we do our content review. But we want the marketplace asset to be a safe and family-friendly place for folks. So the general catch-all considered offensive covers us for that. So once you are sure that you're going to be meeting all of the legal requirements for the content that you'll be selling, you come into the submission process. We have tried to streamline both the ease of getting in, setting up a seller account, uploading that content, getting it reviewed, and have it put in front of the consumer to be as quick and painless as possible. And probably the longest steps are the first two. Setting up your Epic account, which again, if you already have Unreal Engine or if you have Fortnite, if you have an Epic account, you've already done that process. But you do need to have an Epic account. Once you set that up, then you're going to create a profile. And this page right here, it all comes from, if you just Google Unreal Marketplace, the very first thing that comes up is get started with selling on the marketplace. You click that button, it's going to bring you to this step. It's going to walk you through step by step each thing that you need to do. So you're going to create a profile. That's going to create things like your legal and contact information, your tax information, all of that kind of stuff. Once you get that kind of checked off, then you can go right into submitting your creations. So basically create an account, make a profile, get all your legal and payment information in there. All that's done ahead of time. And definitely make sure you're going to want to have, say like, PayPal or bank account to have funds wired to. And again, you can check all the websites. I'm going to give you some information to follow up with this information in a handy guide that walks you through all this. And then you go into the submission process. So we work to get the review of the submissions within 2 days. We do recommend, I've got some pro tips, but you want to start with one content back, get that submitted. We'll do the review, get back to you, and then you're up and selling. Once you have gone through steps 1 and steps 2, you only need to do those once. And then once you get cleared with your first content pack, it generally speeds up from there. So there are a few technical requirements. These are our general technical requirements of the content that you need to meet to submit to the marketplace. And this is the general list that's going to be reviewed for any content that you submit. And then additionally, and again, I'm going to link to the Seler guide later and talk about it a little bit. There are requirements for each individual type of content. When it comes to the amount of assets, the type of assets, the amount of things that are required. And that can be from a content type of pack. Say, for example, an environment pack is going to have a different list of requirements to a prop pack, or the technical type of content that it is. So animation is, say a character is going to have requirements on listing, whether the character is rigged, whether it's not rigged. But the general idea is that, first off, the high-level technical requirement is that you want to have content that does not consist of easily reproducible assets. We do curate this content. We want to make sure that the content on the marketplace is of value to the consumer. We don't want it to just be an open marketplace where everybody can just flood it with content. And this first requirement of easily reproducible assets, if you decided that you wanted to make a texture palette, a texture pack to sell on the marketplace, and all it was a bunch of RGB values of different colors, where you made 50 different colors of different RGB values and put them up as a texture pack, that's not going to get approved because it's something that someone could easily reproduce. Same with something like blueprints. If something's a blueprint pack to do something that is very easily reproducible in blueprints, say, this is a blueprint pack that, breaks a vector into multiple variables and allows you to change those variables. That's something that the average user can do very easily, and we're generally not going to approve a blueprint content pack that just replicates something that someone could do very easily. Obviously, that's, again, somewhat subjective, but I think in most cases people understand what that is. Visual defects, again, relatively subjective, but when it comes to creating art assets, having your visual assets created correctly to the standards that is shown to the consumer. So if it's a low poly asset pack, having the assets be consistent across the board, and not have some assets that have very high polys in a certain case that are unnecessary polys. Having things built correctly to be able to just drop in. The assets generally need, from a visual, for the next two sections, actually for the rest of this, they generally need to be plug and play, drop in, ready to go. For example, for art assets, they need to be ready to ship as is. It shouldn't be that the consumer needs to purchase the asset and then do a lot of custom work to be able to ship it as is. It has to be ready to go. So the next few sections, visual defects, they need to function without detriment to performance. Again, that's relative and subjective, but if it's a low poly pack, it doesn't need to have millions of tries. Textures and materials need to be sized relative to what the content is. Again, a good example, if you're looking to build this content, is to go out and look at the existing Epic Games content. The Infinity Blade assets and Action RPG are a great example of mobile content. Paragon assets are a great example of AAA kind of level console content. So you can take a look at that, how those are constructed, what the various different budgets are, how the LODs are set up like that. All that content is available for free, and so you can just get that and start looking at it. Assets are complete, function is intended. So if your blueprint pack says that you're creating a portal pack that you can teleport through, the actual portals need to teleport and actually function. And overall good design and concepts. And again, that's relatively subjective, but when it comes to blueprints, creating things efficiently, code plugins, work as intended, and just be generally good designs. So when it comes to the submission process tips, things to keep in mind when you're moving through these. The first thing is to read the seller's guide. There is an amazing seller's guide. It's been a work in progress. The link is here, and I'll post it in the chat during our Q&A, or you can just Google Unreal Engine Seller's Guide. It's got a breakdown on all the different types of content, what content is expected in the packs, what amount of content is in the packs. An example of this would be props, and I had a call with the marketplace team early in the week to talk about this before I went on. And the best way to think about this when it comes to the amount of content is to think about what you're selling. So if you are selling a high resolution character, say you have built a high resolution awesome robot, steampunk robot, and you're selling that character, having one character in that pack is totally acceptable. There's lots of content packs on the marketplace that are singular character. But something like props, say furniture props, generally, regardless of the quality of the individual props, most furniture props that are for sale are multiple prop sets. So even if your armoire that you may have created for a AAA level armoire, regardless of the quality of that level, probably that's not going to get approved, just because generally folks aren't going out and looking for individual pieces of furniture to purchase to put into a project. Obviously, again, that's relatively subjective, but again, looking at the various types of content and looking at that seller's guide has examples of the amount of content in a pack. So, for example, a environment pack that you say, hey, this is a redwood forest, like I referenced earlier, you wouldn't just have a singular redwood tree and then a grass texture. You want it to be a fully fleshed out environment. So enough content that a user could build a full environment out of the content that's in that pack. The next tip is to submit one project first. A lot of folks are coming over from other marketplaces that may have multiple content packs on, say, the Unity Store, TurboSquid, or various different content packs. But when you're first creating an account and you go through and submit, we recommend that you submit one content pack, get through the process, go through your review. You're going to get feedback, and I'll talk about that in a second. And get that approved, get it up on the marketplace. And once that's done and it's up, then go ahead and start moving through your additional sets. Some folks just go through and just submit a bunch of stuff all at once. But it's better for you from a time perspective to go ahead and just go through that singular approval process. That may allow them to catch things like things in your profile that need to be adjusted, learning how the default settings in the submission form, what you need to fill out. For example, when you submit a form, you're going to choose what content category that goes in from what I submitted earlier, and it's going to pop in a default of the information that you would want to include in that. For example, poly counts or amount of animations, things like that. You're going to want to fill that in. So we do recommend doing one submission before you just open the floodgates and start putting it in. Do check those content guidelines. Definitely check them. That is one of the things that gets submissions kicked back for review is folks not reviewing those content guidelines. So it's best to go ahead and review those ahead of time, check that seller's guide, read up on the specific things that you want to submit. Do not link to other stores in your content guidelines. And I'll touch on this when I talk about pricing. There is no restriction on where you sell content outside of the Unreal Marketplace. If you want to, have it in other engine marketplaces, if you have other marketplaces, you feel free to do that. But the one thing that you can't do is link to other stores within your description on the Unreal Marketplace. And obviously we do that so that people can't, use it to manipulate sales, or I'm going to put it as high price, but if you go over here, it's going to be lower price. We just don't allow that. Creators Hub. So once you create that profile and get your first thing approved on the marketplace, you're going to be given access to the Creators Hub. The Creators Hub is a forum community that's hidden to everyone else, but available to marketplace sellers to converse amongst themselves. We do this, obviously. We are big fans of community. We're big fans of the community supporting each other, and we try to facilitate this type of communication, and we bring that into our marketplace as well. So going into the Creators Hub, talking about best practices when it comes to responding to questions, when it comes to dealing with technical issues, asking other folks about what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, upcoming sales, communications, things like that. So utilize that Creators Hub. Get out there, talk to the community of other marketplace sellers, and use that resource. And then the next thing is explore the market. So I'm going to talk about marketing and again some of our showcases and things like that. But really, what you want to do is get in there in the marketplace and really start looking at the content that maybe the content that you want to sell as far as price points and stuff like that. Things that may be missing. Specifically. So if you're looking to sell props and you are a studio or a person that wants to build props, getting in there and seeing the quality level, the types of props that are already represented. I could say offhand that probably if what you want to sell is swords, then there are a lot of swords on the marketplace. So maybe going out and looking for, maybe something more specific. There's probably a lot of fantasy swords. There may not be a lot of sci-fi swords. I'm just making up examples, but looking at the market from that standpoint of how can my content stand out, and how am I filling a need for the consumers. The other thing is to look for is exploring around on content that may not be represented. And that specifically comes into things like blueprint assets that you may be creating for your own projects. If you go out and you're like, I want to, create a flashlight system, there's a million flashlights. Let's say a potion system for an RPG, and you're going out for a very specific thing that you're looking for, and you can't find it on the marketplace, so then you end up building it for yourself. Well, taking a little bit of time to bring that out into a separate project, put it up on the marketplace and sell it, because if you're out there looking for it and you need it and you can't find it, chances are someone else may be as well. And that expands out to thinking about beyond games as well. There's a tab on the marketplace for industries where you can click on things like automotive or medical, things like that, that you may not see a lot of content there. And that can be a prime opportunity for folks, especially working in content that may be higher resolution, that may be for demos, that can be used by enterprise applications across the board. Again, architecture, automotive, product design, medical, things like that. So looking across the board, there are probably, tons and tons and tons of say train assets created for games, but there may be assets, if you're a train aficionado, for more like simulation driven train assets that contain more of the inner workings and things that may be utilized for more of a simulation type environment. So get out there, explore the market, look at what's missing, and try to fill those needs. The other thing to consider is looking at when we bring new features and editors online, for example, Niagara, there's always a hunger for that type of content when those new features become available. So pricing and marketing. First off, I'm just going to talk about pricing for you. So this is a standard that all marketplace sellers get when they sell content on the marketplace, outside of a couple showcases that I'll mention in the past. But anything that's sold for a price all goes under the 88-12 split. So developers publishing content on the marketplace keep 88% of the revenue, and Epic takes a 12% cut. We first rolled this out a few years. We used to use more traditional industry standard, the 70-30 split, but after we adjusted to this 88-12 split, people were quite happy with it, and we found that we can maintain the marketplace and from a business perspective, while allowing a larger chunk of content or a larger chunk of revenue to go to the actual content developers themselves. So again, that's a flat rate that everybody receives, and we feel that it's a fair rate as well. So when it comes to pricing, you set the price. That is a standard that we have. We do not tell you. We have a range. Basically, the minimum price is $4.99. I believe the maximum right now is $1,499 USD. So between those range, you can choose. There are set amounts, so you can't go in and, I believe, check that it's going to be $76.96. There's kind of standard ranges that you can go through. If you do see something that you feel like you want to sell it for more than the maximum amount, you can file a help ticket, and we can discuss that with you individually. But in general, we let you set the price for the content. Again, price is subjective, and we are not going to, tell you that, because you have 97 props in your pack that it has to be set at, $12.99 or $84.99 or $150.99. It's up to you. You set the price. So the thing is with that is I do recommend going in and doing that research ahead of time. I already mentioned there's no restrictions on multiple marketplaces aside from linking out directly to them. You can have your content out on multiple marketplaces. So sales, we do sales promotions. You're able to opt in, so you just click an opt-in button and you'll get notified via email that an upcoming sale is going to be held, and then you can opt into that sale. This is much like other marketplaces do. We do various event type sales and things like that. When you opt into those, you'll then be put into a rotation on the pages with the total folks that are participating in that sale, and it'll just rotate through. Sales have been very successful. We run generally various different discounts around holidays and events and things like that. There are spacing windows and restrictions. All that information will be sent to you when you create your publishing account. So for example, if you participate in one sale for a certain piece of content, you may have a window where you can't participate in another sale for a certain amount of time. And that's just, to keep folks from, setting an arbitrarily high price and then constantly running something on sale. So that's how we actually run the sales, is that you opt in that way. Showcases. Showcases is something that we run pretty consistently. We have showcase content. If you jump into the launcher, the first thing you're going to see is showcase content. That content is handpicked by our marketplace team. They go out and look for high quality content, variety of different price points, and a variety of different types of content that they want to showcase, whether it be genres, industries, different verticals, and things like that. So everybody is basically opted into showcase. And that's hand chosen by our marketplace team. Free for the Month is a program that we've been running, I believe, just this year. We might have started it late last year. The Free for the Month program, and you'll recognize this if you're familiar with Epic Games Store as well. Is a program where we put the content up, or the content goes up for free. During that time frame, that month that the content is available, anybody who acquires it for free owns it as if they had purchased it, or owns the license as if they had purchased it. That has been an extremely successful program. Thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads. And the great thing about it is that every time that we bring developers in through that free content, we see an uptick on purchase content as well. So it not only benefits the exposure for the developers, and not just exposure, I'll talk about that in a second, the content that's actually included in the pack, but it helps other developers as well, because it brings new users in. New users start exploring the marketplace. They start understanding the power of the content, how easy it is to use, how easy it is to bring into their content, and they'll generally a lot of times go and start purchasing additional content. Now, to be clear, when I said exposure, when you see content that is free for a month on the marketplace, that content developer has been paid. There is a flat fee that is paid for that month. And basically your content goes up for free, you receive a check, you get paid for that month, and then that's how it works. That is generally the same fee that goes to any developer. I won't disclose what it is specifically here, just because it can change over time. But if you're interested in it, the Free for the Month, I forgot to put it in here, that is an opt-in as well. So when you create your content, there is an option to choose to opt in for that Free for the Month. And then out of those folks that have opted in, then that content is hand selected by the marketplace team. So again, a lot of things that they're looking at is, one, either something that is going to be valuable for developers. Again, things like environments, things like props, always, very well appreciated by the content. Have a very high download rate, and so we want to have that content in there. But then also content that may not have been represented in the Free for the Month quite a bit. So various different blueprint sets, various different tools, things like that that can be available. And then also content that may not have been in the Free for the Month. So for example, if we haven't had, say, a music pack in quite a while, the team may choose, well, we're going to have a music pack just because we haven't had one in quite a while. The permanently free collection is yet another one. Permanently free functions similarly monetarily to the monthly free, where, again, the developer receives a check, a flat payment for their content to go permanently free onto the marketplace. This one is hand chosen. There's no kind of opt-in. The team will individually reach out to you and say, hey, we saw your content pack. We'd like to, we'd like to see if you're interested in making it free for everyone into our permanently free collection. And then the developer would receive payment for that, and it would go out for free and be licensed just like any other content. The other caveat, just like with the monthly free, the same things of how they're chosen applies, but also something that we may see that just could benefit all of the developers, and we see just a huge benefit to having that available. One example for me that I really love is the Good Skies blueprint pack. Good Skies is a skybox pack that you can drop in and basically set time of day, choose lots of different skies, has lots of different skyboxes. Can do real-time light, daytime changes, things like that. And that's part of our permanently free collection. And so when we see content like that we may see like this is going to get broad adoption, this is going to get a lot of use, we may reach out to you and ask if you're interested in being in the permanently free section. And now, of course, free for the month and permanently free, that's up to you as the developer. If we reach out to you and say, would you like to be in the permanently free collection? And you say, no, I am perfectly happy with the revenue that I'm receiving selling my content, then great, that's up to you. All right, check my time. And I think I'm running down here to the Q&A. So yeah, this is my last slide. So tips and tricks. I've probably talked a lot about this as I went through. Like I said, looking for the missing markets, checking the industry tabs, doing price comparisons, follow the seller guides. Also, we do have a support ticket section. When you go into the marketplace, there's ask a question button. If you have questions or things that you want to ask before you do your submission, feel free to create a ticket. That'll put you in contact with the support team, with the marketplace, and you could ask, hey, I have this kind of content, and will this meet the requirements? Or I built this content for another engine, and I'm wondering, is it going to work in the Unreal marketplace? But as long as you, again, go in, do some research, understand the type of content, you understand how that content's going to be used, you put that into your script descriptions, you explain to the user what it's for, and then you be proactive about answering your questions, keeping your content updated. That's actually one thing that I should mention in the tips and tricks, is that each piece of content, I'll pop backwards right here, you'll see in this content detail for this point-and-click adventure toolkit, you'll see you have supported platforms here on the right, you'll have supported engine versions, and then the download type. What that is, the supported platforms is pretty straightforward. It's PC, it's console, it's iPhone, whatever it may be. So you'll need to test your content on those platforms, make sure that it's supported on those platforms. Engine versions, you're going to choose what engine versions that you want to support. You're going to need to, at the very minimum, support the current engine version for what you are submitting right now. So it needs to work on the current engine version that you're submitting. If you want to go back and support older versions, there's a checkbox for that. And then as the engine is updated and new versions come out, it is up to you as a seller to update that. Now, if the content by default works in the new engine, say for example, it is a materials pack that is very simplistic, nothing's changed, you don't need to do any update. All that is going into your account, clicking a button and saying, yes, this supports engine 425. That'll update and then you're done. If it is something that has changed, for example, maybe it's a blueprint pack and a new version of blueprints maybe has deprecated some nodes and you need to make some adjustments, you can actually create a new package for that new engine version, submit that, go through the review process. Again, should be a 24-hour, 1 business day review process. They'll double check it, make sure it works on the new engine version, and then that'll be put up, and you're good to go. The download type in this section, again, complete project means it's a standalone project. You have something beyond assets that need to be used. or a asset pack, which is essentially something that can just be dropped in to your content. So you're going to choose those. If you choose the wrong one, quote unquote wrong one on complete project, the marketplace team will let you know that, and just, hey, we recommend. Generally, if it can be an asset pack, I highly recommend that it is an asset pack, because that's going to be the easiest, cleanest use for your consumers. If you want to have extra features that might be showcased in a video or something like that, you can always put that in a YouTube video that supports your content. So with that, I think I am right at 46 minutes. So I think I timed that quite well. Again, I'm going to be jumping into the Discord for answering questions. And if you do have any follow-up questions, you can reach out to me. Again, hit me up on Twitter if you like this presentation. Let me know on Twitter. That's the best way to communicate with myself and my superiors on how well I'm doing. And then if you have individual questions, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. You can DM me on there. DMs are open on Twitter as well. If you'd like to take something offline, feel free to DM me. So thank you very much for your time.